Rolling. Hi everybody and welcome back to our weekly live stream. My name is Alicia and today we're going to talk about how to use past perfect. Past perfect tense is a tense that lots of people ask me about when to use. So today we're going to focus on a few different uses of this grammar and of course how to make statements and questions. I'm going to use a lot of examples in today's lesson, so I hope that you can find a lot of new things and new ways of using this grammar point. So as you join, please make sure to send a message in the chat and also please like and share this video so that other learners can find today's lesson. That would be super cool. While we wait for lots of people to join us live, as always, a couple of quick announcements. First thing first is this banner at the screen. Our team free, so you can check all the details from the link below the video if you are watching this on YouTube or above the video if you are watching this on Facebook. You need an account at EnglishClass101.com, but it is free. You just need your name and an email address. So check that out if you want to get the beginner level course. That is announcement number one. As always, announcement number two is about the Q&A series, but this one, I should do a screenshot, but anyway, this is a screenshot from the Ask Alicia Q&A series, question and answer series, where if you have questions about English vocabulary, English grammar, culture-related questions, everyday life questions maybe, whatever you might have, you can send them to this series. I will read your question and maybe answer it. You can find the link to send me your questions. So don't send me your questions in comments or in Instagram or Twitter or something like that. It's too much. So please send it to the official question submission page at EnglishClass101.com/ask-Alicia. You can find this on the English Class 101 YouTube channel. Check out the episodes there to see what other questions people have asked. Okay, that is all for announcements. Lots of people are joining, so I will come to say hello to you all. I see many of you are on YouTube. Hello, YouTube chat. I will come to you first. Welcome, YouTube. Osman, hello. Jermaine, hello. Charlie, Rocky, hi. Jue, MTA, hello. Mohammed Kanwaljit again, hello. Very nice to see everybody. Fantastic. I am broadcasting from my house this week, so if this is your first time joining our remote broadcasts, welcome. I'm looking over here to see our Facebook friends. Facebook, where are you? Hello, Facebook. Okay, fantastic. I see people on Facebook too, so I will say hello to you. Noah and Paul, Afarn, hello. Mohammed, hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Okay, I'm going to show our lesson boards for today now. This is our lesson flow. So please take a look. You can take a screenshot of this too. Lots of people, I made this so people can take screenshots easily. So for this, I'm going to focus first on when to use past perfect. Then I'm going to talk about how to make past perfect. And at the end of this, we're going to talk about some common patterns. Finally, we're going to talk about how to make questions with past perfect. So we will cover these points in today's lesson. Okie dokie. Let's get started. So let's begin then with past perfect, when to use past perfect, when to use past perfect. So this is the first part. This, I'm going to cover 2 points, 2 uses of past perfect. Depending on the study resource you use, you might see kind of different explanations for this grammar. So I hope that this covers kind of broadly the main uses of it. So as you'll see, the primary use of past perfect is for showing a sequence of something. So sequence means one action after another. So let's take a look. When do we use past perfect? First, let's look at number 1. We use past perfect for actions that finished before another past action. Actions that finished before another past action. For example, I was really excited to see the movie because I had read great reviews. So this sentence has 2 past actions, or 2 like past, in this case a past condition. I was really excited. And then here, I had read great reviews. So we're seeing two actions at the same time. So this is the primary use I want to focus on for past perfect this week. So to visualize this on a timeline, we can imagine that our past perfect action happens before the simple past action. So in this example sentence, I was really excited is my simple past action. And then I had read great reviews. This is my past perfect point. This part, I read great reviews. This happened before I saw the movie. So we use past perfect to show that two things, like two past actions, happened, and we want to show the earlier action. We use past perfect to do this. Okay, so let's look at one more example now that we know this. One more example. When we arrived, the meeting had already started. When we arrived, the meeting had already started. So in this case, again, we have two actions. Arrived, that's my simple past action, and the meeting had already started. So I'm going to talk about already in part 2 of today's lesson. This is a very common word we see with this grammar point. So when we arrived, simple past, the meeting had already started means the meeting started before this other simple past action. So we're showing sequence. That's the primary use, like that's kind of the theme we will see with all the uses of past perfect. Okay, I'm checking the live stream for all your questions. So if you have a question, please send it in the chat. I will try to check them live. I'm checking both Facebook and YouTube at the same time. There are many people sending comments. Okay, let's go to the second point I want to cover for today. If you watched the would have, wouldn't have lesson that I did last week, you may be familiar with this example sentence. So we use, the second use I want to cover for today is we use past perfect to express a past unreal condition and result. So a past unreal condition, that means an if situation that is not true. We just want to imagine it. And we want to talk about the imagined result. So again, we're showing a sequence. So there's a first action and a second action. In this case, both are unreal. So it's an action or a condition, but they're both not real. We're just imagining them. We use past perfect to do this. So what does this mean? Let's look at an example sentence. This is one I used in last week's lesson. If I had studied, I would have passed the test. If I had studied, I would have passed the test. So what's happening in this sentence? Here is my past perfect expression. If I had studied. So we learned in last week's lesson, actually, this means I did not study. This means I did not study in the past. But I want to imagine if I had studied, I would have passed the test. So today I'm not going to talk about this would have grammar. This expresses this unreal condition in the past. But again, the relationship between the two actions is important with this grammar. Past perfect, simple past, or in this case, a would have expression. Okay, one more example, then we'll get to the last point here. This one. If he hadn't called me, I wouldn't have known about the party. If he hadn't called me, I wouldn't have known about the party. So here we have a negative. So this is an example of a negative use of past perfect. If he had not, so this hadn't means had not. This means he did call me. He did call me. But I want to imagine if that person had not called me, this condition would not have been true. I would not have known about the party. So that means he did call me, so I knew about the party. I just want to imagine a different situation. Okay, so these are the kind of broad uses, the general uses of this grammar point that we're going to talk about today. So I want to address a very common question. A very common question, like lots of people ask, so what's the difference between like a simple past and past perfect? Like, why should I use that? Why is this grammar important? To do that, to talk about that, I want to compare. Let's compare these two sentences. First one, when we arrived, the meeting started. Second, when we arrived, the meeting had started. So what's the difference between these two sentences? Why should we care? The first sentence, when we arrived, the meeting started. It sounds like at the moment we arrived, the meeting started. Like the other people were waiting for us. So when we arrived, okay, we started the meeting. But with this sentence, when we arrived, the meeting had started, means before we arrived. So before we arrived, the meeting started. We joined after the meeting started. So this, it seems like a small point, I know, but it's not. Like, you can communicate a lot with these, with this kind of decision. So past perfect, a key point. So your key point for today to remember, past perfect communicates a sequence. There's a sequence of activities. Whatever your past activity is, the furthest in the past activity should be in past perfect tense. Use simple past tense to express the activity that's closest to the present. Okay, that is part one for today. Woohoo! So this is how we use past perfect tense. I'm looking for your examples. If I had reviewed my internet connection, I would have seen your streaming clearly. Okay, good. Nice one, Miguel. Reviewed, maybe checked. Checked is a good word. Check your internet connection. We usually use the verb check there. Okay. Hi, Alicia. How are you? I am great. How are you? Okay. I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to continue to part two after a very tiny baby break. If you missed it earlier, our team has put together this free beginner level course and a 52-page workbook that you can use. You can download. It is a PDF. You can download it to use together with the free beginner level course. I'm pointing at this banner on the screen on our website. So to get this, you need your name and an email address to make a free account at EnglishClass101.com. The link is below the video if you are watching on YouTube, or above the video if you are watching on Facebook. Great. Okay. Good. Some examples are coming in now with today's grammar on YouTube. Annie says, if the weather had been better, I could have gone out. Maybe, if the weather was better, I could have gone out. I would reverse those. If the weather had been better, I could have gone out. Because like the weather kind of happened first. The weather condition is first. So good. I would just reverse those to make it natural. Okay, great. I don't see other examples, so I will show you today's lesson boards again so you can see where we are if you're just joining. So today we're talking about past perfect. I've just talked about when to use past perfect. Now we're going to talk about how to make past perfect. I'm also going to cover some common patterns that we use with past perfect. Finally, we'll talk about how to make questions. So now we're going to talk about statements. Okie dokie. So continuing on to part two then. All right. So part two, and if you're just joining, please don't forget, please do like and share the video so that other people can find today's lesson. That would be awesome. All right, let's go to part deux. Past perfect, how to make it. So a very nice point about this grammar is it's pretty easy to make this basic form. We need three things, just three things. We need our subject, and we need had, and we need the past participle form of our verb. That's it. But the difference here, like the challenging point here, is this makes part of the sentence. We need to use past perfect together with something else. So Subject, had, past participle verb. If you're not sure what the past participle verb form is, this is a verb form we need to study for each verb. So we'll cover some common ones in the examples today. To make this negative, just put not right here. Just put your not before the verb. Had, not, verb. To make it natural, reduce it. Hadn't, 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 verb. So we're going to look at 3 examples now. We're going to look at some positive examples and some negative examples, and then we're going to look at some common patterns you see with past perfect. So, carrying on. First one. He offered us free tickets, but we had seen the movie. He offered us free tickets, but we had seen the movie. So offered is my past tense action, my simple past tense action, but we had seen the movie. So in this situation, someone says, I have free tickets. Would you like to see this movie? You can have these. But we had seen the movie. So that means before that situation, before this person offered us the tickets, we had seen the movie. So we use past perfect to express that this action happened before this action. Okay? All right, let's go on to part 2, or example number 2. If you have questions, please send them in the chat. Okay, onward. This one. We had finished our homework by the time dinner was ready. We had finished our homework by the time dinner was ready. So in this case, my past perfect part of the sentence comes first. It comes at the beginning. We had finished our homework. So that's the earlier of the 2 activities. By the time dinner was ready. So that means dinner became ready after we finished our homework. I'm going to talk about this by the time part a little bit later, because this is a common expression we see. Okay. Final example sentence, and then we'll cover these patterns, is a negative. A negative. So, I hadn't finished my work for the day, but my boss said it was time to go home and rest. So again, I hadn't finished my work for the day, but my boss said it was time to go home and rest. So again, this action, or this condition, was first. In this case, it's a negative. So that means I wasn't finished with my work. That was my condition. That was my situation. But my boss said it was time to go home and rest. So this was first. This was the first condition. Earliest condition, rather. This was the earliest condition. And this one was more recent. My boss said it was time to go home and rest. So again, we're using past perfect to show this sequence of activities. Okay, so now we have these 3 example sentences. Let's cover some key patterns that we see with past perfect. Some of these were in part 1. Maybe I'll show you these if it's convenient. Okay, so let's cover, I've chosen 3 common patterns that we see with this grammar. So let's take a look. The first one is this had already pattern. Subject, had already, past participle verb. I used this pattern in the first part of today's lesson in this example. This one right here. This one. When we arrived, the meeting had already started. When we arrived, the meeting had already started. So this had already pattern is very common with this grammar. This pattern emphasizes the action was completed. So that means that this verb, we want to emphasize that this verb was like done or completed. So in the example, I'll show you this example again. In this sentence, when we arrived, the meeting had already started. This sentence is correct. We use, obviously, the sentence is correct. So is this sentence. When we arrived, the meeting had started. So what's the difference between already and not already? It's an emphasis thing. We want to emphasize that this action began. So it feels a little bit like, oh, maybe I was late. Like I want to emphasize for some reason that this thing was completed or this thing had been done. So this already is a very common word you'll see in past perfect pattern. So again, it emphasizes this action, this verb, the verb after already was completed. On YouTube, Chong Cohen says, when I came into the classroom, the lesson had already started. Perfect. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, let's go to common pattern number 2. Subject had never, past participle verb. So I think maybe lots of you are familiar, lots of you know about this pattern. When we see this never before the past participle verb, you can imagine this like the not, but it's expressing no life experience of something. This but also in the past. So maybe you know have never. I have never done something, but had never done something means before the past point in time, subject, so this person, had no experience with something. No experience with something. So I think I'm going to show you, maybe I'm not going to show you. So for example, I might say, I might talk about a vacation I took with my friend. We go to France together. And my friend tries French food for the first time ever. And I'm like, wow, this is your first time eating French food? So when we come back from vacation, and I tell other people about the vacation, I might say, oh, I couldn't believe my friend had never tried French food. So that means before the past point in time, my friend had no experience trying French food. That's a situation where you might hear this grammar used. Okie dokie. All right, let's go to the last one then. This one, I've used this in this example sentence. Oh, sorry, this example sentence. Last common pattern I want to talk about is subject had past participle verb, same thing, past participle verb by the time, blah, blah, blah. By the time. This is a really, really common pattern with past perfect grammar. So what does it mean? At some point before the past tense action, the past perfect action was completed. So this is key. So I'll read it one more time. At some point before the past tense, so this means the simple past tense action, the past perfect action was completed. So let's look at this example. We had finished our homework by the time dinner was ready. That means at some point before dinner was ready, we finished our homework. So that doesn't mean like exactly when dinner finished, we completed our homework. It doesn't mean that. It just means at some point in time before dinner was ready, we finished our homework. So that's what by the time this thing happened, this condition happened, means before that point in time. But we can't substitute before here. We don't say we had finished our homework before dinner was ready. I guess you could if you wanted to, but it sounds a bit more natural to say by the time. By the time. All right, phew, that was a lot. But I think these are really, really good to take away from today's lesson because we use these to create more subtle nuances, to create like deeper meanings. All right, I'm looking for your questions. I don't see your questions. Some examples are coming in on YouTube though. Gertrude says, I had taken a shower by the time he got home. Nice one on YouTube. Kanwaljit says, I'd never been to Hill Station, so I was so excited. Very nice. Alice asks a question. When we use past perfect, it means we compare two clauses about something happened in time. So yes, I think that's the same thing. I covered this in part 1 of today's lesson. We're covering two actions, two past tense actions, and we're showing the sequence. Past perfect is the first action. Simple past tense is the more recent action. Okay. Let's see. Siham says, I want to know if this rule is correct. Before plus simple past, after plus past perfect. Can you send me an example sentence? Because it's not true. Like, it's helpful for an example sentence there. I'm not quite sure. Okay. Let's see. Some examples on Facebook now. I had finished my homework by the time you arrived. Perfect, Bernice. Very nice, very nice. Okay, I don't see any other questions, so I need to move along, oh my gosh, to the final part for today. The final part for today, I will take a quick break to remind you about our free beginner level course. You can get this from the link below the video if you are watching on YouTube, above the video if you are watching on Facebook. There is a 52-page PDF to download to use together, to use along with this course. I'm pointing at this banner here, so check it out. Also, please like and share this video so that other people can find today's lesson. Okay, I'll show you today's lesson boards again so you can take a picture if you want. Here they are, hooray. So first, I talked about when we use past perfect. Then I talked about how to make statements. We just practiced this. Last, we're going to practice making questions with this grammar. We're going to practice information questions and one yes or no question. Okay, I will take these away and we'll go to the last part of today's lesson. How to make questions. Isn't that exciting? Okay, onward. How to make questions with this grammar. Again, thankfully, this is not super difficult. We can make it, but again, it's challenging to know when to use it. So how do we make a past perfect question? First, in parentheses, I have WHQ. This means a who, what, where, when, why, how question. One of those information getting questions, yeah? So, when we want to make an information question, we put this at the beginning of the sentence. So, WH question had subject, past participle verb. So this is the same as statements, yeah? So that's pretty easy, right? We just put our question word at the front. To make a negative, we put not. Not. So same parts. We have the same parts of the sentence as with our statement patterns. All right, so to make a yes or no question, we can just remove the WH question. Had subject verb? So it's very short, very, very quick. So let's look at some examples to understand what's happening in these questions. So first one, I've underlined the past perfect question here. What had he eaten the day before he started feeling sick? What had he eaten the day before he started feeling sick? So, as with our statements in part 2, we have our past action and our simple past action. He started. So we still are showing a sequence. This is, even though it's a question, we're still asking about something that happened before another past tense action. So this one, we want to ask a question about something before another past action. So he started feeling sick. I want to know, what had he eaten before that? So I'm trying to find the cause of that. What had he eaten the day before he started feeling sick? Also, a pronunciation point about these questions. These, I just said it when I read the question. This, what had he eaten? We tend to reduce these had sounds after our question words. So what had sounds like what did. What had he eaten? What did he eat the day before he started feeling sick? So we tend to reduce those. Let's try it with another example question. Where had they been before they arrived at the party? Where had they been before they arrived at the party? So again, this, where had they been, is the past action. This action, so they arrived at the party, but we want to ask, where were they before that? So we want to ask about those two things at the same time. We use past perfect to do that. Where had they been before they arrived at the party? So again, I have a simple past tense action. My question is in past perfect because I want to know about the earlier action. Maxo on YouTube says, can I use had in a past perfect phrase? Sure. So had, let's see, in like a past perfect statement. So if your verb is have, then yes, had can absolutely be used. Okay, let's continue on to this one then. Why hadn't he confirmed the reservation before you got to the hotel? So again, why hadn't, negative, yeah? Why hadn't he confirmed the reservation before you got to the hotel? So again, this is asking about an earlier action. Before you got, my verb here, my past tense verb here is got. So the past tense of get, this is a casual way to say arrived somewhere. So this action, we want to ask about this one. This is the earlier of the two actions. Why was this thing not done? So we want to ask the reason something did not happen. Why hadn't he confirmed? So confirmed is like a way of saying checked. Why hadn't he confirmed the reservation before you got to the hotel? So this might be like a clarifying kind of question. Okay. All right. I don't see, let's see, questions yet. On YouTube, Ali says, can we use past perfect with should have? I would say I can't think of an example off the top of my head. We tend to use this grammar with would have patterns. Perhaps we can. I can't think of an example like right now. Okay, so let's take a look at one yes or no pattern then. So this is had you slept before you went to the airport? Had you slept before you went to the airport? So this is different from these three questions. Because these all start with this WH question, yeah? This one is a simple yes or no question. Had you slept before you went to the airport? So again, the earlier action is sleeping. We want to ask, did the other person sleep before they went to the airport? So again, we're asking about past situations here. Okay, so these are a few examples of ways to make questions. But again, even when you make questions, you need to refer to a sequence with this grammar. So we're talking about a past action with simple past tense and an earlier action with past perfect, even when you're making questions. So that is the key point from today's lesson. Okie dokie. All right, I'm coming to take a look at your questions now. I have, oh my gosh, only a few minutes, so I'll try to take a look. Let's see, Sarah on Facebook says, had you eaten well before you went to work? Good, okay, that sounds all right. Nice. Bernice says, had you cooked before you went to the party? Okay, maybe you can use that. Okay, nice. Other ones. Annie, just like present, sorry, the chat is going very quickly. I'm trying to catch all of your questions. Let's just like in present perfect, in past perfect, is the time duration or the point in time not important? Good question. Let's refer back to part 1 a little bit. The time duration is not so important for simple past perfect. If you're talking about past perfect continuous, that means I had been verbing that form, then time duration, length of time is important. I made a live lesson about past perfect continuous a few weeks ago, so please take a look at that. I'll put a link in the YouTube description. So past perfect continuous duration is important. With this simple past perfect, the key is showing the relationship between two past actions. Okay, let's see. RP Singh says, can I use, oh, sorry, I just lost your question. The chat goes so quickly. It was where had they been and where, oh, I missed your question. Sorry. It was a really good one. The difference, basically, I think it was the question. Maybe you can send it again. The difference was about what's the difference between where had they been and where have they been, I think. I lost it in the chat. The difference is you're asking about an action that happened before another action in the past. So did I? Yeah. I used this example sentence. Where had they been before they arrived at the party is asking about an action that happened before another past tense action. Like where have they been means up until the present. So that's the difference between the two, up until the present. Where have they been means up until now, and where had they been means up until a past point in time. Okay, I hope that answers your question. That's a good one. Yeah, where had they been or where have they been? Thank you for sending that again. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. Where have they been, again, refers to up until now. Where had they been refers to a past point in time, up until a past point in time. Oh my gosh. What's an example for had? An example for had. Let's see. She had a good day when she received some terrible news. That's a very kind of vague example sentence. So she had a good day when she received terrible news. So that means up until that point in time. So her day was good at first, and then something bad happened. So we use had when the verb is had plus the verb have. So again, to review that part, had plus past participle verb is used to make past perfect statements. When your verb is have, you will get had here, and that's totally correct. Okay, I have to finish. That was a lot. So thank you for your awesome questions. I really appreciate your thoughtful questions. That is super, super cool. But I have to finish for today. So I will share with you, I'll show you the lesson boards one more time in case you want to take a screenshot. Hooray, there they are. So grab your screenshot there. I'm going to take them away now and cover next week's lesson. Next week's lesson will be about how to make guesses about the future, making guesses, so making predictions about the future. I want to give you some more patterns than just I think, and maybe. So I want to cover things that are going to be a little bit more, maybe that will help you express your guesses a little bit more precisely, in a little bit more detail. So please join me next week, July 15th, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is New York City time. If you don't know your local time, please use your Google skills. For those of you who are asking, lots of you have asked recently, thank you for your interest. Live lessons are every week, depending on your time zone, Wednesday night or Thursday morning. If you want to make sure to always make time for the lesson, you can set a notification on YouTube or on Facebook to make sure you can join in. So I will end there today. Of course, if you missed the lesson, it is recorded. You can watch this back on Facebook or on YouTube at any time. So I will say goodbye. Thank you so much for liking and sharing this video. We really, really appreciate it. Make sure, if you are interested, to check out the free beginner level course on our website too, from the link below the video on YouTube or above the video on Facebook. I will say goodbye there. So thank you for your time this week. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I will see you again next time. Bye.